Alrighty, folks, we are going to look at how to do long division with a two-digit divisor. That means the thing you're dividing by is 2 digits. It's got a tens place and a units place. So this lesson is only for people who definitely already know how to do long division. If you don't already feel super confident about long division, you are not ready for this work yet. So there are really only a couple of you who should be trying this. Maybe like half a dozen. You know who you are. If you're not sure, you can ask. So let's look at this question. It says 2,394 divided by 38. If we want a story for that, we could say that the bakery has 2,394 cookies. 38 people all want some of them, and the bakery says we will divide that number up evenly and you may have whatever is fair. So let's find out what is fair. How many cookies each of the 38 people would get from the bakery? Now, this type of division, doing long division with a two-digit divisor, is different from doing long division with a one-digit divisor in that there is a lot of estimation. There's a lot of guesswork and then checking to see if you are right. So we're going to start the same way we normally would, and I'll let you know when it gets different. So we're going to ask ourselves, can 38 go into 2? No, it clearly can't. So we're going to add in another digit. Can 38 fit inside of 23? Still no, 38 is larger. So we need to include another digit. We need to look at the first 3 digits before we can do anything. Can 38 fit into 239? Yes, for sure. Now, I cannot count by 38s. Perhaps you can. If you can, by all means, be awesome and continue doing that. But if you cannot count by 38s, this is where we get into the part where we're going to make some estimates. We're going to take this information and bring it down here and do one little estimate at a time. So we want to know what 239 divided by 38 is. We can make this easier by rounding our numbers. 239 is very close to 240. So let's pretend it's 240, just for now. 38 is very close to 40, so let's round that to 40. While we're estimating, we're going to use these rounded numbers. So this starts to look like something we could do. What is 240 divided by 40? I'm still not at a place where I feel comfortable yet, so let's use another trick. Remember that if both of the numbers you're working with end in a 0, you can take both those zeros off and look at the numbers without them. Technically, what you're doing is dividing both numbers by 10, but what it looks like on paper is you're just going to pretend those zeros don't exist. So the next step, that would turn this into 24 divided by 4. Now we're at something we can totally do. 24 divided by 4 is 6. If you're not sure, you count by 4s until you get to 24. Let's do it together. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So 6 times. 24 divided by 4 equals 6, which means that our guess is that 239 divided by 38 will equal something near to 6. Sometimes you are going to be wrong, and you'll have to go back and try again. So let's test it and see. Because we might end up wrong, I'm going to use a pencil to write up here. I'm going to keep writing in pen down here because it's nice to have the bright colors for the lesson. But I'm going to write the actual answer part in pencil, if I have one. It appears that either the cat or Austin has stolen my pencil. So we'll use a pen for now and cross it out if we need. Our guess is that it will fit in 6 times. So let's try it. We got the 6 here. Our guess is that it'll work 6 times. Now we want to find out how much we used up. That's the part where we say 38 times 6 equals what? Now, this is another piece that I'm going to do off to the side because there are so many little calculations, I can't really do that very well in my head. So let's switch colors. 38 times 6. 6 times 8 is 48, so you put down the 8 in the units place, carry the 4. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 4 more is 22. So 38 times 6 equals 228. As long as the number you got is close to, but not more than, the number you started with to share out with, you're good. 228 is close to 239 and hasn't gone past it. So we're good. We think that 6 is probably how many times it fit. Now we're going to do the subtraction problem that is normally a part of this step. So we'll take our 228 that we used up, put it here, make a subtraction question. 9 minus 8 equals 1, 3 minus 2 equals 1, 2 minus 2 equals 0. It's at the beginning of the number, so we don't have to write it. We had only 11 left. That's perfect. This is a place where you want to check. If this number right here, what you have left, is bigger than what you were sharing out to, that means you could have shared them one more. But since there's only 11 left, we couldn't have kept sharing. Now we're going to bring in the units. We're going to give ourselves the next number. Okay, now it starts all over. How many times does 38 go into 114? All right, let's test it down here. We're going to switch to pink now. Each step gets its own color. So 114 divided by 38. Let's look back over here. First step was to round them. Let's round these. Now, here's a trick. Normally, when we say rounding, we say something like round to the nearest tens place, and there are rules. We know that a 9 rounds up, so this would turn into 240. And we know that an 8 also rounds up, so this turned into 40. You can follow the normal rounding rules when you're doing long division with a double-digit divisor, but I have discovered that the best way to get a good estimate is to round them both in the same direction. So by that, I mean either decide we're rounding them both up, 38 turning into 40 and 114 turning into 120, or rounding them both down, 114 turning into 110 and 38 turning into 30. 38 turning into 30 feels really far off to me, so I'm going to choose to round this up. We'll turn that into a 40, which means I want to round this up too. That's where it's kind of a weird estimation trick, because normally a 4 would round down. If you're feeling confused by me talking about breaking the rules of rounding on this, feel free to follow the rules of rounding. You just might end up with a couple more guesses that aren't right, and that's okay. So let's choose to round this up. We can say that 114 is about 120, and 38 is about 40, so 120 divided by 40. Let's look over here. Our next step was to cross out the zeros. So we've got a 0 here and a 0 here. Let's cross those back out and rewrite our numbers. It gives us 12 divided by 4. Hey, that is math we can do. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 4, 8, 12. That means that our guess is that 38 will fit into 114 about 3 times. Let's test it and find out. That means we need to do the math, just like we did here. So we need another color, and we'll do it down here. 38 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Leave the 4, carry the 2. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 more is 11. 114. Hey-o, perfect. We got a number that did not go over 114, because it's exactly 114. So let's put that here. 114 minus 114 equals 0, which means this question came out perfectly. There was no remainder. So we can say that 2,394 divided by 38 equals 63. In our story, the bakery would give each of the 38 people 63 cookies. So hopefully they're having a party or something, because otherwise that is too many cookies. Let's try some more. If you're feeling like you already were sort of getting this and you just want to carry on and head on your merry way, you are welcome to do that. But I would suggest that from now on, you wait until I write the question, press pause and try it yourself, and then come back and watch how I did it, and that would be a good way to check. I'm going to do that for at least 2 more questions. Now, that first one, I specifically picked one that would come out even. But this one, I'm not going to. I am literally going to make it up off the top of my head right now. So let's say 5,251 divided by 25. Okay, let's try this. So we're going to start with our questions, right? Will 25 fit into 5? No, it certainly will not. So we need to extend our line out. Will 25 fit into 52? It absolutely will. Now, that's interesting because I can count by 25s. I think of counting by 25s as like doing money math because a quarter is 25. So I'm going to show it to you as if I can't count by 25s, but if you can, that just means that's an extra easy question for you. All right, 25 into 32. Well, let's see. I'm sorry, 52. 52 divided by 25. Okay, let's round those both up if we need to, although I don't really think we do this time. Let's say 52 turns into 60 and 25 turns into 30. Rounded them both larger. We cross out our zeros. We say 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is fairly simple. That one's 2 because 3, 6. So we're going to say it should probably fit 2 times. Let's put the 2 up here and try it. We're going to do our little multiplication. 25 times 2 equals 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. It equals 50. I could get that in my head, and you probably could too, but that's okay. So we'll subtract our 50. We'll subtract what we used up. 25 times 2 is 50. 52 minus 50 is 2, because 2 minus 0 is 2, and 5 minus 5 is nothing. All right, we have 2 left. Now we can come on to the next step. Let's bring this 5 down. How many times does 25 go into 25? I think in this one, we can just say that we've got this answer. 25 definitely goes into 25 exactly 1 time. 25 times 1 is exactly 25. 25 minus 25 is 0. All right, let's bring down our next step. Bring down the 1. Will 25 fit into 1? It clearly will not. At this point, if you want to put the decimal point here and do some zeros and keep on going, you absolutely can. But that is not what I'm going to do in this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to stop with remainders. So 25 cannot fit into 1 any times. Therefore, we need to put a 0 here. Remember, if it's at the very beginning, you don't have to put the 0. But anytime it's in the middle or the end, you need to include that. Otherwise, it'll look like my answer is 21 instead of 210. All right, 25 times 0 is 0, so we used up none because we couldn't share. 1 minus 0 is 1, therefore our remainder is 1. All right, let's try another one, and I'll pick something a little harder to do than times 25. All right, let's try it down here. How about 4,629 divided by 32? All right, let's see how this one works. Remember, press pause and try it on your own if you feel like you're ready for that. Okay, 32. Will it fit into 4? It obviously won't, so let's continue going farther. Will 32 fit into 48? It will. And you know what? I bet we can all tell ourselves that it's only going to fit in once. If you're not sure, the reason I can know that is because if I just look at 48, I can say, well, I'm sorry, I keep saying 48. That's a 6. I do that with numbers sometimes, and I apologize. 46 divided by 32. Let's do our little rounding thing in our head. Well, 46 is pretty close to 50. 32, if we want to round it up, we can make it 40. I'm going to round it down just because 32 seems really small. It seems like rounding up to 40 would be way too much. All right, 50 divided by 30. Cross off the zeros because that's what we're doing with our pattern. 5 divided into 3 groups. Well, it's only going to fit in, it won't come out even. But 3, 6 would be too much, so we can only do 3. It'll only fit 1 time with some leftovers. I can see that when I look up here because I think that 30 twice would be 60. That would be too much, so I know it's just 1 time. There's a lot of estimation steps that you will learn to do in your head as you practice more. So when you feel like you can, go ahead, but record it when you're not quite there yet. That way, if you have a mistake, you can go find where the mistake is. All right, back to this. We're going to guess 1 time. 32 times 1 is 32. 46 minus 32. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. 14 is left over. All right, let's bring down our next step. Bring down the tens place. 142. How many times will 32 fit into it? Let's do this down here. 142 divided by 32. Let's round. Both of these end in 2s, so I'm going to round them down. 140 divided by 30. Ask yourself, what's the next step? Always look back if you're not sure. We're going to get rid of our zeros. 14 divided by 3. Let's count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. We can't go to 15, that'd be too much. So we can only go to 12, which means 4 times. 14 divided by 3 is 4 with some leftovers. So we're going to try 4 up here. We might find out that 4 wasn't right. Maybe it'll need to be 5. That's just a part of this work. 32 times 4. Let's do that work right here. 32 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So 128. Ooh, it's going to be close. If we use up 128, what will be left? 2 minus 8 is impossible, so we need to borrow from here. 12 minus 8 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Since this number is 14, it is not equal to or higher than 32. That means we were right. 4 is the correct number. So the 14 is left over for the next step. Let's go on to the next step. Bring down the 9 from the units place. 149. All right, we're going to do our estimation. 149 divided by 32. I'm going to round this guy up to 150. I'm going to round this one. Oh, I feel like I should round it up to 40 since I talked about that trick where it helps to round them both the same way. But I feel like I can't bear to do it because 32 is so close to 30. All right, I'm going to try it with 30. If I make a mistake, we'll just go back and fix it. All right, we cross out our zeros. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. Let's try it with 5. I'm going to write it really faintly so I can go over it in case it's wrong. All right, we're going to guess that 32 will fit into 149 5 times. So let's try that multiplication right here. I can already see that, yep, I made a mistake, which is perfect. Check this out. Now you can see what happens when you accidentally estimate wrong. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. If I share 32 out 5 times, I will need 160. Do I have 160? I don't, which means that this 5 was wrong. And this is normal. This is not you making an error. This is part of how this type of math works, which is why it is extra important to work in pencil. So if you're wrong, you can either come back to the estimate and try it all over again, or you can do the thing that logically makes sense to me, which is if I tried to do a tiny bit too much, why don't I just make this number 1 lower? So let's try it if we say that it only goes out 4 times instead. All right, we're going to do 32 times 4. 32 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 128. We have enough now. Good. So we'll subtract 128. 9 minus 8 is 1. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. We are left with 21 left over. 21 is smaller than 32. So we know that we didn't make an error. We'll have a remainder of 21. And again, if you want to practice decimals here, you could put a decimal point, bring down the extra 0, and keep on going until either you lost your mind and ran out of space or you found an even answer. For today, feel free to call it good with this. Go back and watch it again if you're feeling lost, and write to me if you want some help. We can work together on this one, just with our Zoom screens up, sharing back and forth. This has been long division with double-digit divisors. Good luck, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.